Okie dokie. Look at that. We are live for the very first time on my YouTube channel. Hello, everybody. Welcome in. Starting a little bit early. I just hopped onto TikTok live to let everybody know that I was doing a little pre-show live, but nothing crazy. To let everybody know that I'm going live for the very first time on my YouTube for my new weekly show, if you will. Well, not if you will, it definitely is my new weekly show. I don't know why I said that, but every single Monday and Thursday from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I will be going live here on this channel to just spend an hour of spookiness with all of you guys. So we can chat, talk about ghost stories, haunted places, paranormal experiences, all the things. And yeah, so make sure you're subscribed if you're not already, and you can hit the notification bell just in case for some reason maybe I have to like switch up dates or times for a week, but standardly can expect to see a new live stream every Monday and Thursday at 7 p.m. So we can hang out live if you are free during that time. Otherwise, you can watch us in the recap. This will always be available on my page to rewatch later. So little bit of housekeeping to get out of the way first and foremost. But again, yes, every single Monday and Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we'll be hanging out on the Haunting Hour live. So with all that being said, I'll kind of give people time to come in. But obviously, I feel like very first stream, people are going to kind of trickle in here and there. But we'll just kind of get started. Again, this will be available for a recap. So if you are interested in watching it back, you can definitely do so. But without further ado, boo, and hello, my ghosts and ghouls. Welcome to the very first episode of the Haunting Hour Live with me, Hauntingly Krista, which is your weekly deep dive into the eerie, the unexplained, and downright bone-chilling. I'm your host, Hauntingly Krista, and tonight we're going to step carefully into a world where shadows linger a little too long, where footsteps echo in empty hallways, and where the line between the living and the dead is thinner than you think. Tonight, we're shining a light on some of the most unsettling real paranormal encounters that have happened right here in Canada, from abandoned hospitals whose walls seem to whisper the memories of those who came before, to old homes where the creak of a floorboard or the sudden chill of a room could signal something unseen. So these are the experiences that left witnesses shaken, questioning their senses and wondering if what they saw was just a trick of the mind or something far darker. These are true Canadian ghost stories shared by real people who didn't just hear the stories, they lived them. And tonight we're going to explore them word for word, the way they were told, so you can feel the fear, the suspense, and maybe even a brush of the supernatural yourself. So here's my warning. Keep a blanket close. Make sure the lights are exactly where you want them to be, on or off. And maybe, just maybe, check behind you once or twice. The stories we're about to hear aren't just tales to entertain. They are glimpses into a hidden world that walks quietly among us if you dare to see it. So ready your senses, open your mind, and let's step together into the shadows, because the first story is about to begin now. Now, hello. Hi, Mary. Welcome into the chat. Thank you for being here. And just a reminder to anyone at any point, if you are popping in, feel free to share your thoughts, opinions, and questions if you have them, I guess. I might not have the answers to them because these are not stories, but I'd love to hear what you're thinking about these stories as we go. So drop it in the chat if you're watching live, drop it in the comments if you're watching in the recap. I'd love to know your thoughts and opinions. So without further ado, let's jump into the very first story. We are starting tonight in a place that already carries very heavy energy, a former mental hospital, sorry. These are the kinds of buildings where emotions, trauma, and memories don't just disappear when the doors close. They linger. And this one, many locals still say it never truly let go. So this is the haunted hospital story. And this is from a user named SIDS4BE43769F. So this is hers. Have you ever heard of a little town called Weyburn, Saskatchewan? Well, it used to be home to one of the biggest mental hospitals in Canada. After the 1960s, it was used as a nursing home. Then in the late 1990s and early 2000s, it was used as offices for health region employees. My mom worked there so when I was little, I used to explore the empty halls. You were never alone there. I swear it was one of the most haunted places in Canada. Faucets would be left on, windows open and closed right in front of you, and you could faintly hear tables being dragged across the floor. Ask anyone who lives in Weyburn, they probably have their own story. The building has been torn down now, and new houses built over top of the old site. Some people who own new houses, tables being dragged across their floor, even though nobody is home. And you know what's super interesting? Hello, hi Randy. Hello, Jennifer. Hello, Guelph. I used to live in Guelph. I love Guelph. Guelph is so fun and so haunted. Thank you all for popping in and joining. I really appreciate you all so, so much. So that was the very first story about the haunted hospital in Weyburn. And when I was reading this story, I thought it was so fascinating because I have an experience with tables dragging as well. Not in Saskatchewan. I've actually never been to Saskatchewan, but I definitely should go out there and maybe check out the new buildings that are on top of this old hospital. But I was investigating a place in Toronto called the Stanley Barracks. Crazy haunted, probably one of the most haunted places that I've ever investigated, which is a lot. But we were doing a Ouija board session in the basement. Hello, hello. We were doing a Ouija board session in the basement. And when we were doing that, things were popping off around us. There's 4 of us. We are the only people in this building. It's like there's like 3 different stories. There's an attic and a basement too. So like it's a large they're barracks, right? And we have complete access to it. So we are locked in there. No one else is there, no security, nothing. We have this place to ourselves. And as we're doing the Ouija board session, you hear the table above us get dragged. It's caught on camera too. Like you hear it scooting across the floor during the Ouija board session. It was crazy. And then later we heard even scarier. Something was thrown down the stairs. We didn't know that at the time, but there was this big crashing sound. And you guys know like at movie premieres or like anywhere that has like lineup cues, they have like posts, specifically like not the tape kind ones, but like the like literally red velvet ropes, like those posts that are in between red velvet ropes. One of those was thrown down the stairs and we caught it kind of on camera. We had it when we went down being like way far into the hallway away from the stairs, standing up. And then when we were coming back up later after the Ouija board session, after we heard the crash, it was on its side on like the landing of the staircase. So we don't know how that happened. That was definitely one of the scarier things that happened there. Probably the scariest thing. I'd say actually that was probably scarier than even the table scooting above us. But wild, just wild stuff. So that was the very first story. Moving on. So there is 15 stories in case you are just tuning in now and you want to know kind of what we're looking at. I'll kind of here and there to talk to you guys. Also, if you are just joining in now, at any point, if you have thoughts and opinions about the story you're hearing, definitely drop it in the chat. If you have your own ghost stories, let me know those as well. So there's something especially unsettling about the story that we just heard, not just the activity inside the hospital, but the fact that it followed from the land itself. So even after the building was torn down, the sound remained, the tables dragging, movements where no one should be. And it really makes you wonder, can you ever truly embrace a haunting? Or does it sink into the ground beneath us? Well, let me know. But if abandoned hospitals weren't enough, this next story takes us somewhere far more intimate, a child's nursery. Yeah. And sometimes those are the most terrifying places of all. Not because they're children and children are kind of creepy. No, I'm just kidding. This one messes with me deeply because it involves a baby. And when something targets a child, especially in their own bedroom, it feels instinctively wrong. So this story builds slowly and then absolutely explodes. This is called the Nightmare Nursery. And this comes from Jackie Hariprasad on Facebook. So She says, "This is not my own story, but one an old roommate of mine relayed to me. Her cousin lived in an old house in Newmarket, Ontario. The layout of the house had the kitchen on the first level and a second level with some bedrooms, and a third level with the nursery and master bedroom. One day, her cousin was in the kitchen washing dishes while the baby slept upstairs. Suddenly, she heard the baby crying over the baby monitor. She dried her hands and climbed 2 flights of stairs to the nursery, and as she got closer, she couldn't hear the baby's cries anymore. When she entered the room, the baby was sound asleep still, with nothing in the room disturbed. The cousin went back downstairs and checked that the baby monitor was on the right setting. And when she determined it words, once she determined that it was fine, she went back to the dishes. As soon as she turned on the tap, the wailing began again on the baby monitor. So again, she slowly began her way up the stairs, and once more found the sound of the crying stopped the closer she got, and that once she entered the room, the baby was still fast asleep. She was starting to feel uneasy about the whole situation as she went back to the kitchen. Once more, she attempted to start on the dishes, and when the crying began for a third time, she went back up the stairs, but this time she went quickly, that feeling of unease growing within her. As she reached the third floor landing and turned around the banister so that the nursery was inside, she saw the door slam shut. And I just got chills down my spine. Suddenly, her baby was crying for the time. Horrifying sounds, wails, and shrieks. She ran to the door and tried to get it open, but it appeared locked, even though there was no lock on the door. Her shoulder were trying to get it open, desperately calling out her infant's name. She backed away from the door with the ticket, but before she could break the slowly creeped in on its own. She burst into the room, and the baby was torn in his crib, crying, and the light on the ceiling was spinning in circles. She grabbed her baby and ran downstairs and stayed there until her husband got home. What makes the story more disturbing to me is that ever since that day, her baby sleeps with its eyes open. When she took him to the doctor to find out why, he suggested that some children develop this as a defense mechanism after experiencing a traumatic incident. It leaves you wondering, what happened in that room? That's the story. And what makes this truly horrifying isn't just the locked door or the spinning light fixture, it's the aftermath. The idea that a baby is so deeply affected by something that it changes how they sleep forever. Doctors call it a defense mechanism, but defense against what? Whatever was in that room clearly didn't want to be seen, but it wanted to be heard. Let me know what you guys think about that in the comments or in the chat, wherever you're watching, at whatever time you're watching this. But that one was absolutely chilling, like straight up chills down my spine, on my arms. So creepy. That one really makes you look over your shoulder at night. But let's move on. Fair warning, the next one is short, blunt, and unforgettable. Sometimes the scariest encounters are ones that happen when we're children, because kids don't have the same filters that adults do. That's why they say children and babies specifically, as well as pets, like your dogs and cats. They have more sense and susceptibility, big words, to the paranormal. So they see things clearly and they can hear things, and sometimes they remember them forever. This is the story of the girl wearing the fancy ass dress. And it's a doozy. So let's get into it. This one is from a user called Toxic Insanity. And it goes like this. When I was 6, I randomly woke up in the middle of the night to see a little girl wearing a fancy ass dress, holding a creepy ass doll, and of course, she was staring at me. There was nobody in the house at the time who was younger than I was or owned anything like that, mind you. So at that age, I did the only logical thing. I hid them under my blankets until I fell asleep again. The thing is, I still live in the same house, and sometimes objects will suddenly move, or I'll see a figure for some reason. I feel like I shouldn't leave. The part that chills me the most in that story, not that the figure appeared, but the story still feels bound to the house, like something is holding them there. The objects moving, figures appearing, and yet an unshakable feeling that leaving could be wrong. And that's not just fear, that's attachment. Let me know what you think about it as well. But we're moving on now. We're stepping out of homes and into a place filled with history, artifacts, memories, maybe a few spirits who never clocked out. Museums are fascinating, but after a few hours, when they're empty and silent, they can feel deeply unsettling. And every object has a story. Maybe some of them are still being told. So this is the mysterious museum story, and it comes from user named Sammy Fletcher 13. Alrighty. So her story goes like this. I work at the Royal BC Museum in Victoria, and I'm a cleaner. We clean floors completely alone at night, and each person gets a floor to do. Since I've started, I've heard and seen many weird things. On my first day, as I was cleaning the glass early in the morning on the third floor in the first people's gallery, I heard whispers, footsteps, snapping sounds, all sorts of weird stuff that I assumed was the guards doing their morning rounds. I called down to them and asked if they had someone upstairs, to which they said, no, but someone will be up there in the next hour. I thought it was weird and went to leave. Walking down the stairs, I heard someone running down them behind me, so I booked it. I have never ran so fast before in my entire life. I still want to prove that I was a good worker, so I ran through the galleries on third and kept trying to clean the glass. I felt an awful feeling that someone was watching me. Just the other week, I was up in third at night with the backpack vac on, so you can't hear anything over it, and I got into the totem gallery and felt sick. I cleaned it as fast as I could and left. The few shadows moving here and there in the corner of my eyes was a very usual thing up there, and I ignored it. And I got into Century Hall and went to start mopping when I heard two women laughing and whispering. I called out, hello, anyone there? And there was nothing. I couldn't see anyone, and the laughing stopped. I called security to ask if they had workers in. They said I was alone. With that floor, if you ever do visit, you will hear many things. We've heard a little girl giggling. We've had reports, of seeing a man's face above the blacksmith display, shadows moving into the hotel in Old Town, and one of my coworkers said he saw a man in a doctor's uniform, which he believed was Dr. Hammond. What stands out here is consistency. Multiple people, multiple sightings, laughter, whispers, shadows, and even historical figures appearing in period clothing. When experiences overlap like this across different witnesses, it becomes harder to dismiss as imagination because it's more verified, especially when security confirms no one else was actually there. From footsteps and whispers, we move to something that shouldn't move at all. Objects carrying history sometimes carry more than just age. And when something weighs 1,000 pounds, it shouldn't move quietly. So this is the this is the story of the words are hard. This is the story of the paranormal piano. And this comes from user Kristen S 488 Becca 1. Just gonna check in on the chat. We're doing good. Cool. All right, so this is the paranormal piano. My mom recently bought a 150-year-old piano because it was super cheap. One day, my sister and I got home from school and went downstairs to watch TV. Meanwhile, my mom was doing yard work. She suddenly started yelling at us to get upstairs now. She sounded mad. We went to see what was wrong and saw that the piano had been pushed out 2 feet from the wall. She thought we did it. Mind you, this piano is about 1,000 pounds. We would have trouble moving it ourselves. We assured her we didn't move it. As we should have heard it move across the floor, we heard nothing. Now there's a huge scratch and dent in our floor, and sometimes random notes will play too. Piano sliding across the floor without sound, random notes playing on their own, physical damage being left behind. This is not subtle paranormal experiences. That is forceful, and whatever caused it clearly wanted to be noticed, and I think it achieved that. So let's slow things down real quick because not every haunting comes with fear. Some come with comfort, and this next story is gentle, but no less powerful, and it's about grief and the possibility that love doesn't end with death. This is the familiar voice, and it comes from user Abby F4E4DB53A5. My great-grandmother passed away in 2006, And after her funeral, my whole family was at their house just chatting and doing what people do after funerals. I suddenly heard a door creak and then heard my great grandmother's voice say, "Does anybody want a cup of tea?" That was what she always used to say. I looked up and my mom, aunt, and grandmother were all looking at each other because they had heard it as well. Now, what makes this moment so compelling is that multiple people heard that. Same voice, the same words, familiar, loving, and unmistakable. Whether you believe it was a spirit or something else, though, that moment brought peace to them. And sometimes that's all a visitation is meant to do, especially at a time like a funeral. All right, back to something a little bit more settling, though, especially if your bedroom window faces outside. If your bedroom window faces outside, give this video a like. This one taps into a primal fear, being watched, and what happens when the watcher isn't a stranger, but family. This is the window watcher. Also, everybody should be liking this video because I'm pretty sure all of your bedroom windows look outside. So this story comes from Jocelyn R4 F9 FBE65D. So many letters and numbers there. But Jocelyn, she says this: I lived in a bungalow growing up, so my bedroom was on the ground level. I used to sleep with my curtains open all the time. One night when I was 4, I woke up and saw a man staring straight into my bedroom. I freaked out and ran into my parents' room screaming. They thought it might be the homeless man who sometimes walks around our neighborhood, but after checking, no one was found near the house. My mom asked me to describe the man, and I did, in perfect detail. My mom went and dug through some old photos and pulled out a photo of her grandfather who had passed away when she was just a kid. She asked me, "Is this the man that was looking at you?" I lost my and started crying and screaming. "Yes, that's the scary man," she said. Um, Absolutely chilling. A child recognizing someone they were never supposed to know and identifying them instantly. That kind of recognition is terrifying, and it raises the question, was he protecting her or simply just watching? Yeah, it's so freaky, I know. The video is pixelated. Okay, I'm so sorry about that. This is my very first stream. If there is any kind of glitches or audio disturbances, definitely let me know. I will have to figure that out for the next stream because I'm learning as I go. So I do apologize if we're glitching out at any point. Again, let me know. If you're watching this in the recap, let me know timestamps. Notice anything, but other than that, I do apologize. All right, so moving right along. You might want to clutch your blanket a little bit tighter because this next one is only 2 sentences and somehow probably one of the dark. No build-up, no explanation, just a child's voice asking for keyboard request. And very short, but chilling. This comes from Joey. My friends and I tried out a new Ouija board. We were talking to some 5-year-old girl named Dee, and she kept asking us to kill her mama for her. That's the story. That's it. What do you mean? What do you mean? What? Okay. Let's head west into the shadows of Vancouver now, because chilling. Now, this story fascinates me because it happens repeatedly to different people before they even know the legend. When physical sensations appear before the story is told, so nausea, clutching, stomachs, sudden illnesses, that suggests something deeply residual, almost like the spirit announces herself. This is the woman in black, and this comes from user Je suis une anana. So she says, I lead ghostly gas town tours in Vancouver, a ghost tour where we walk around historic gas town and tell the local stories and history. The great, though occasionally terrifying thing about the tour is that it's super casual, so we don't have any jump scares or anything set up to freak you out. This can be really creepy as a guide through, though, as any experiences that happen on the tour are usually the real deal. And trust me, there have been a bunch, but there's one spot that we go to that is particularly freaky. There's this side alley that we go down that leads to a bigger alley, haunted by the woman in black. Without spoiling the story, I'll just say a woman in a long old black dress appears at the end of one of the alleys and floats through to the gate at the other side, clutching at her belly. Again, not spoiling, but the clutching at the belly is believed to be very important to her tale. Now, here's the creepy part. During about a third of the tours I do, as soon as we turn down the alley, one of the women in the group grabs her stomach or starts feeling nauseous. I've even had people have to sit down. This is before we've even told them any bit of the story. I've also seen a black shadow, like the hem of a skirt, float around the corner where we're heading, always gone by the time the tour flies in. Perfect. Thank you so much, Jennifer. Yeah, so chilling, Mary. And this goes to show, like, when physical sensations appear before the story is told, nausea, the clutching of the stomach, the sudden illnesses, like we mentioned earlier, that suggests something deeply residual, almost like the spirit announces herself before she actually gets introduced. If you think hauntings are always frightening, this next one reminds us that they can also be deeply personal too. And this is the ticking watch, and it comes from user WASPXIII. And they said this: a couple of weeks after my dad died, I had a really bad night. I was up crying and was a mess. All of a sudden at 3 a.m., my dad's watch went off. It scared the bejesus out of me. He worked shift work my whole life, so it wasn't an unusual sound for me to hear that early. It actually made me feel peaceful. As I was calming down and getting close to sleep, I heard my father's voice saying, "Don't worry, I just have to go to work," from the next room over, which is my parents', and was empty at the time. I never have auditory hallucinations, no matter how tired I am, and it was soothing for one last time to hear his voice. And I'll go to my grave swearing that it was his. No one else was on that floor with me, and no men were in the house. A watch going off at the exact moment it always had, and a voice offering reassurance. No fear and only peace. If this was a goodbye, it was a beautiful one. But all right, let's return to somewhere many of us spent our youth: school. And this story is called The Perfect Circle. Hello, Bill. Welcome in. Oh, Billy. Sorry. Hello, Billy. Welcome in. All right. So this is called The Perfect Circle, and it is submitted by Ashley T 4051304E1. So Ashley says this: one night I was at my high school, which was over 100 years old, and I was leaving really late after practice with my friend when we ran into a teacher. We started talking, and she had an exercise ball that she placed on the floor while we talked. As we talked, we watched the ball roll around us in a perfect circle without anyone having touched it. After we watched it roll in the circle a few times, the teacher grabbed it and we left as a group. After that, I never left through through the old part of the school that late ever again. I don't know. To me, that doesn't seem like it has any explanation. Sometimes physics just steps aside. So, if anyone has any explanations for that, definitely let me know, but that is absolutely chilling. So, from hallways to open waters, let's now talk about lighthouses. This story is called The Lighthouse, and it is submitted by Anna Du from Facebook. While sleeping on Center Island in Toronto as a volunteer for an art festival, a group of friends and I decided to walk to Hamlin's Point, an island that has a lighthouse and is rumored to be haunted. Once we got to the lighthouse in all its creepy glory, with the doors bolted shut with what looked like an old Victorian lock, we decided to share our personal creepiest stories. Side note, breaking the fourth wall, that sounds like a perfect time to do that. Going back in. Halfway through the storytelling, though, we heard a woman's scream coming from inside the lighthouse and in the bushes around us. We hightailed it out of that place, and with Center Island's lights out for the night, we walked back in complete darkness, except for the small flashlight on a friend's phone. Screams in the dark, no one visible, no way in or out. Lighthouses have guided sailors for centuries, but some seem to call out instead. Absolutely chilling. Alrighty, Jennifer, I've seen a husky in our kitchen outside of my side vision. My husky is outside. I believe it to be one of our previous huskies. Oh, Akella or Murphy. Those are beautiful names. Yeah, I've heard a lot of stories about people having experiences with like past pets. Um, what pet that passed years prior. I find that so beautiful. Like I feel like that, they should be with always, and they are. Really says, I am in Brantford. Any good spots here? The it's called Mush Hole. I believe it's on the res. If I'm not mistaken. I have to do more research on that place, but anytime I talk to anyone from Brentford, they always tell me to check out the Mush Hole. I think that's what it's called, and the Woodland Cultural Center. I don't know. So the story, whoever the what was her name? Let me go back. Ashley. So she did not say. She was saying that she wasn't going to spoil the story. It's probably because it's part of that ghost walk, and it's probably copyrighted or something like that. But it has me wondering if there was something like that, a childbirth, a stabbing, or like some sort of maybe stomach pain, maybe an ulcer or something like that that led to death. But all Ashley wrote in her story was that the stomach pain had to do with the woman's story. So I wish I knew a bit more about that one, but that's all she gave us. So I think that was my first thought actually, was childbirth, but stabbing could very well be the cause of that. So this next story is long, intense, and deeply disturbing. It is called The Horrifying Dream House, and it is sent by Missy D4. And it's a doozy too. So it goes like this. My family and I moved into our dream home 18 years ago when I was 10. Our move was delayed as the owner's daughter suddenly and mysteriously died in the house, so they asked for extra time. We had to live in a trailer park for the summer as our home had already sold. When we moved in, our happy family life descended into pure chaos. People began phoning the house saying they were going to kill my mother, sister, and I. I began having extreme nightmares so bad that I couldn't go to school. The next day, doors and cabinets would open and close, lights would go on and off, and we'd hear strange noises and see strange things. One day, my mom saw a man walk through the house and down into a room in the basement, my bedroom. She began telling my sister and I about the man she saw right before we were having priests come to pray over the house and anoint it with oil. What's crazy and scary is that at that moment, my mother and sister began describing the exact same man to each other at the same time, as my sister had apparently seen too. It's not like my mom described him first and my sister said, I saw him too. They were finishing each other's sentences while describing him. My mom said she was so terrified when she saw him that she made my stepdad go through the house with a baseball bat. Not only that, but my sister was in the garage one day when an axe that was tucked away and a crack in the wall of the garage came barreling down on her, missing her just by a couple of inches. Another night, we were home alone and heard a crash downstairs. We mustered up the courage to investigate, and all the fire pokers had been pulled out of the fire poker stand. You have to pull them out and get them out one by one. And we were laying on the floor, but the stand was still upright. Needless to say, praying over the house and anointing it with oil several different times did not work. So we moved. When multiple people describe the same entity without prompt, when physical harm is narrowly avoided, and when blessings don't work, sometimes the only solution is to escape, truly. That sounds like a poltergeist. Or maybe something a little bit more sinister, but definitely a poltergeist at the least. My husband was haunted um, at my grandpa's house. He walked into the basement and then saw himself in old-fashioned clothing shoveling coal into a furnace. My great-grandpa did this back in 1912. Interesting. Okay, so he was seeing, we believe, your great-grandpa doing, like, old patterns, I guess, that he did during life. That's what it sounds like. That's really cool. That is fascinating. That's a great story, Jennifer. Thank you. Okay, moving on to the next story. We're going to slow things down once again because this one is, again, quiet, gentle, and still strange. And it is called The Bedside Visitor. And this comes from Lori J4C1DBC119. So, Lori, And this story goes like this. When I was going to university at the Laurier campus in Brantford, Ontario, there's a Brantford story to the viewer in the live right now named Billy. So when I was going to university at the Laurier campus in Brantford, Ontario, I lived in an old wartime house several blocks from the school. Around Halloween, I came down with the flu and was incredibly ill. I was bedridden for nearly a week and woke several times to find an elderly man at the side of my bed watching me sleep. The weird thing was that I wasn't scared in the slightest. I asked him what he was doing once, and he said, "Just checking to make sure you're okay." Side note, again, breaking the fourth wall. That's very sweet. I fell back asleep immediately afterwards and never saw him again once I was better. See, not all visitors bring fear. Some simply check in and leave once they know you'll be okay. And I've never personally had my own story like this, but I have heard of people experiencing things like that when they're sick. Maybe, whether it's like, specifically, I've heard pneumonia stories when people are sick with pneumonia, so very, very ill. They'll have experiences with ghosts coming in and checking on them. I've heard stories of people say like they've had like a hand tap on their back, and then they think that maybe it's someone coming to check on them. No one was home when like that during that time period, etc. I feel like that's like a really common thing when you're really sick to see spirits checking in on you. Oh, the spirit stepped into your husband. Interesting. Did he describe, Jennifer, did he describe, like, if it felt like anything? Like, did it feel cold? Or did he just see it go into him? I'd love to know. Let me know. Very good guess, Mary. So one final story, but it ends with something unforgettable. This is the uninvited party guest, and it is from Harwin J. Alrighty. And it goes like this. I held a party in a wooded area once. We set up chairs facing the TV, which we had a karaoke machine plugged into. It was a very memorable night for everyone, but a little bit more memorable for my buddy and me. I ended up falling asleep on some chairs a few rows back from the TV. It was around 3:45 a.m. when I was awakened by my buddy who was calling out my name from afar. Still a bit hazy and half asleep, I slowly got up and noticed there was a shadowy figure of a woman sitting in the seat facing the TV in front of where I had lain down. I invited her to come with us, but my friend insisted that I come to him and to fall asleep at his place instead. I figured it would be all right. The girl was probably asleep and had some friends nearby, so I walked towards my friend and eventually fell asleep at his house. Come morning, I had been woken up by the voices of my friends, so I go up to see them sitting in the kitchen, and I remembered the woman from last night. I asked my friends about her and asked what happened to her. What he told me is something I'd never ever forget. He said, "Man, I saw her too. I didn't want to come closer because what I saw was a woman sitting straight up in front of you with no face and dressed in black." End quote. A faceless woman sitting silently, witnessed by two people independently. Sometimes the scariest part isn't what you saw, but knowing that someone else saw it too. Absolutely chilling. So those are the stories that I have for you guys today, at least from the forum that I found with the true Canadian ghost stories across Canada. I was going to be live for about an hour. We still have about 25 minutes left, so I'm going to stick around and talk to you guys for a little bit. Jennifer says, he said he didn't know where he was, but had the memory of filling the furnace. He came back out of it all white and freaked. I mean, fair. I definitely be too. I do this for a hobby. Like I go to paranormal places, haunted places, paranormal investigation all the time. So, and still I get freaked out all the time. People ask me that a lot actually about my experiences paranormal investigating. Like, do I ever get scared? Basically, like that's probably the most common question I get is, do I ever get scared? And the answer is yes, often. But I love it. Like I live for it. And I don't know. I've heard a couple people say before, like, the haters on the internet be like, "Oh, like, why are you scared? Like, you're a paranormal investigator, you're asking, for something and you're gonna get scared when they answer you." I mean, yeah, because like, so most of the time you're sitting completely in the dark or just, like, alone in the quiet, and then when something actually does happen, it, like, startles you, but, like, it's fun. It's like, "Okay, finally, let's go." But it's creepy. Um, I don't know. If you don't get scared on paranormal investigations, kudos to you, but it could never be me. I take very much in my my fear during paranormal investigations, but I've seen quite a bit of things in my life. Actually, I mean, growing up, I grew up in a haunted house, so I that's kinda how I knew that ghosts were real. I always tell people this because 'cause I'll that's another question I get asked a lot is, like, "How did you get into paranormal?" And I just kinda always was. I remember when I was little, no one ever really told me about ghosts, I just kinda knew that they were there. My house was haunted, but it wasn't ever anything crazy, it wasn't like The Conjuring or anything like that, it was, like, most simple, like, little things, maybe you'd hear some strange sounds that you couldn't explain or weird feelings, but nothing super crazy. When I moved to my first apartment, that didn't start off haunted, that's when I moved in there in 2020, which when I started my YouTube channel, this channel, and I started paranormal investigating, in 2020 as well, so I started actively seeking out haunted places, and so my first apartment didn't start off haunted, and then I definitely brought something there because it that house got quite haunted. I remember one night I was sleeping in bed, my husband's next to me. I thought I saw him standing in my doorway, but then I looked to my side and he was sleeping right next to me. But I remember looking in the doorway and I see just like a silhouette of a man in the doorway. And I'm like, what? So I think it's my husband again. Look down, I notice he's right there. So then I scoot to the end of the bed to get up and, like, approach this man, that's standing in my doorway at, like, 3 AM in the morning. It was 3 AM, I checked my phone. It was 3 AM. I stand up, and as I stand up out of bed, so I'm fully awake, this silhouette of a man, he turns to the side and he walks towards what was our office, and there's no exit over there. Like it was a basement apartment, so there was a window on one side of it, and then there was the door that led to the hallway that led outside. And this man walked towards the office that had no exit, and when I walked out of the bedroom, there was no one there, obviously. So, I still don't know what that was, but I do strongly believe it was paranormal. My dog would bark at nothing all the time. Literally, I remember once I caught him barking at our kitchen. Again, no window in our kitchen. It was off on the opposite side of where our window was. And he was just, like, staring at the wall barking. There's no reason for that. Um, yeah, he barked at a lot of random spots in that house, and again, pets, babies, kids, they have sense when it comes to the paranormal, so that house was haunted, and then I thought when we moved into this house, I thought we were in the clear, though I will say we live in, like, a pretty haunted area. I obviously cannot share where that is because I live here, but I live in a pretty haunted area, um, which could be anywhere. But I didn't think well, when I first walked into this house, I was like, "Oh, this place is, like, good, like, the energy is good." And then I walked into the attic, and I don't so cliche again, attics and basements, like, why are they always haunted? But I walked into the attic, and I was like, "Oof, there's something in here. There's, like, some sort of energy happening in this attic," but it was just there, and I still felt that way, like, I've been feeling that way about the attic, um, and I've been here for a year now, and I was on live couple weeks ago, and as I was live, I was sitting right here. My attic door is right to my right, and all of a sudden I'm talking and you hear like 6 or 5 or 6 like bang, 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 bang coming from the attic door. No explanation. I think it's a nice ghost in the attic. I don't get bad vibes. But that just like solidified the fact that this house is definitely haunted because there was no explanation for that. Like I'm sitting here, my husband downstairs, on the TV. My pets, none of them are in here because I don't like them to like crawl around while I'm live because sounds you can probably still hear them sometimes like meowing outside of the door. But um, all my pets are outside of the office when I'm streaming, and then all of a sudden it's like bang, bang, bang from right beside me. There's no explanation for that. Yeah, it is good. It freaked me out because I was like, "Wait, what?" Though to be fair, when it first happened, I was like I was talking and I heard it, and I was going to ignore it because I thought it was my husband because I'm like, "Who else would be knocking on a door in our house?" Right? And then I was like, "Wait, no, no, no," but it came from the attic door and not the door to the office, which he would have knocked on, and also I could hear him downstairs, like, I can hear him now, I can hear him downstairs, on the TV, so there was just no explanation for it at all whatsoever, and now this house is definitely haunted, like I had expected anyways, but I should definitely, like, I don't know, maybe do something, maybe for one of these haunting hour streams, in the future, I will go into my attic and we can play with some paranormal equipment and maybe do a spirit box session or something and see what kind of things we can get. I think that'd be a good idea. If you would like that idea, give this stream a like. Let me know because that would be a cool one for sure. Um, but yeah, that was just a little bit of background as to like me getting into the paranormal and it always being around. But I've been actively, professionally, if you can even say that, paranormal investigating since 2020, and I've gone to tons of places. I know you guys, okay, fun fact about this window, it's fake. I'm breaking the illusion for you right now. It's a tapestry, but it looks so real, um, and it was, like, $20 from Amazon. So, it honestly ties the room together really nice. Besides it being a good set for this, it just looks nice in the room. So Jennifer says, "I would be interested in but be careful in your own home." Um, of course, always. I would so I've had, like, more negative attachments come home from, like, different locations before, but I have really tried to keep my space zen. Um, I don't want to get rid of this. I made a post about the fact that this house is haunted, and I had people say, "Oh, if you need it cleared, like, reach out to the." I don't want that. Like, they can be here, they're my friends. As long as they're not disturbing me, my husband, my pets, and they're just doing their thing, they can be here and we can chat. Um, but I definitely after investigating, like, some of the most haunted demonic places in the States, I have my boundaries with spirits quite well. So I think this is a couch on the painting, but this is the couch that I'm actually sitting on. It's a little futon. Again, I'm just like breaking the illusion for you guys. I love it. So kind of how this is set up. Side note, we're just chit chatting now. Yeah, we have this little futon. I have a blanket over it to match like the color scheme. This whole thing, like the couch on the windows, is all the tapestry, and then I have these string lights hanging just for like more dimension. I don't know. I thought it looked cool. um, yeah, I love it. And again, it was like $20 from Amazon, so I was like, I will take that as a set for sure. Absolutely. And it looks super real in person. You can actually, like, tell specifically in the windows that it's a little bit pixelated, but on camera, you cannot tell at all, like, it looks super it does add to the vibe, Mary, absolutely. I feel like it's just, like, cozy, comfy, but also, like, dark at the same time. It's just nice and spooky, I love it. Thank you, guys. I'm glad you like the set. Um, yeah, so my that's my experience with the paranormal, and then I have tons and tons and tons of experiences that I can go over with you guys during other streams. Again, we'll be going live again on Thursday at 7 p.m. and then Monday and then Thursday. It will kind of that unless of course there's something that happens in my schedule. Maybe we have to like push the stream to a different time or we have to push the stream to a different day. But there will always be 2 streams a week. Most of the time I like that will be the schedule, Monday and Thursday, 7 p.m. In case something changes, I will always notify you guys. So Hauntingly Krista on Instagram, TikTok. I'll use my community tab on YouTube, so subscribe. And also, if you turn on your post notification bells, you'll get notified if I go live too, in case there is a change in schedule. But for the most part, we will be going live on Mondays and Thursdays at 7 right here. So you make sure to subscribe and share this too. If you know anyone who likes ghost stories and hauntings and you want more of that type of content, you want your friends and your family to know about it, share it. We can all hang out here and talk spooky every single week, twice a week. It's Halloween here all year round. So, and again, like I said, tons. This is my very first live that I've done here. I'm glad that this is your first live that you're joining on my first live stream, at least for this show. So I was doing, of course, thank you. Thank you, Mary. Thank you, Jennifer. I really appreciate you guys. Thank you, everyone who's been in here and been watching. I see you guys. Thank you for liking. So over the past month, I think I said this, excuse me. At the beginning of the stream, I was mentioning how for the past month and a half, I've done a separate live show for like a true crime live show, and I love it. Taking a bit of a pause on it to do this instead and do a more haunted focus on Hauntingly Krista page. So I do hope to bring back Unsettling and bring back the true crime live show at some point, but I really wanted to focus on the haunted. So that's what we're doing. And thank you so much, Randy. And I really love it. And I love that you guys are here and chit-chatting with me in the chat. Like, this is exactly the vibe that I was hoping for. And like, I think yeah, I do. It's still pinned. So I have a pinned comment in the chat here that says that you can share your ghost stories to my email. I'm pretty sure if it's not right now, it will be after I finish this live. I do have my business email in my description of this live stream as well. So if you want to share your ghost stories with me, I would love to hear them. Send me an email, and then during these live streams, I will share your live streams. Share your live streams. I will share your ghost stories in these live streams as we go. And of course, if you have like little mini ghost stories, always drop them in the chat or drop them in the comments, and then maybe in the next episode I'll talk about your ghost story. But I really want to hear from you guys and know what you've experienced. I'll obviously tell you guys my stories, my experiences as we go. I'll share like different haunted places and stuff. That's a given. But I really want to take advantage of this show to hear from you and what you experience, and to give my thoughts and opinions on it too, because I've been doing this professionally now as a paranormal investigator we're going on 6 years. Technically, we're in our 6th year. That's crazy. But also, I've been doing this my entire life too at the same time, just not as like an official paranormal investigator. So I want to hear from you. I will absolutely be telling some of my stories. Honestly, at some point I'll tell all of them, and they're always growing too because I'm still going out. You guys, I have a paranormal investigation coming up soon on this channel. So that's another thing too I should mention. And it's very nice to connect with you too, Jennifer. Something I should mention about this channel. So obviously we're doing these two live shows every single week. But I'm also still going to be posting my regular videos, at least one video a week. If there's any more videos a week, it's kind of like a bonus video, but at least one video a week. And that's like just my standard, like either I'm sitting down talking to you guys about something that's just not a live video. That's also still happening here. And then paranormal investigations, of course, are going to be here as well. I have a few coming up. So there is a paranormal investigation with my favorite girls over at Paranormal XP. They are a team here in Ontario, Canada, and they go to some of the craziest places, and I've worked with them so much. I love and adore them to pieces. They are so talented and they're great paranormal investigators. And I did a paranormal investigation with them back in November. That investigation is coming soon. It is a old fort near Barrie, Ontario. So that is going to be coming very soon to my channel, as well as theirs. And then I also have an investigation that I did with my aunt at the most haunted hotel in Kitchener, the Walper. That is coming soon too. And then I also have a paranormal investigation coming up that I'm doing this weekend, with a very special creator and at a location that has not been investigated in like 15 years. And I never thought I would be able to investigate it because it's a government building, but for some reason they let me do it. So I'm going to be investigating this crazy location this weekend with a very special creator, and that will be coming soon as well. So there's 3 paranormal investigations that are coming to my page soon, and more. So not only will I tell you guys my paranormal experiences and stories up to this point, but they are still going. So we'll be talking about that. Also, like, that's also another thing I could do during these live streams. I'm kind of figuring it out as I go, but this is just like an hour to talk with you guys about all things haunted. So, and hear from you guys too. So, sorry, just catching up with the comments here. Um, OMG Walper, you will definitely have to check it out. I had a great time with Krista. That is my aunt. We investigated together. Yeah, wait and see what we got. We got some good stuff at the Walper. The Walper is so haunted. And I've been wanting to investigate there for a very long time. So that was a very special experience. But um yeah, yeah. Yeah, I'm just kind of figuring out how this live stream is gonna go, but I'm just treating it as like a very chill time to hang out with my fam here and share a bunch of spooky stories, mine, yours, everything. And like what I was gonna say is, like, for example, this weekend I'm doing an investigation. Next week, during one of my live streams of the week, I can come and sit down and kind of very briefly debrief some of the things that happened to get you guys excited for the video. I think that'd be really cool. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna do that. Like, there's just so much haunted possibilities. Spread the word to your family and friends to watch, absolutely. So, Walper Hotel investigation coming soon, Fort Willow, and a very special government-owned building coming soon too. So make sure you're subscribed to my channel because that is all gonna be living here. And yeah, righty, we have 5 more minutes here. What can I tell you guys now that we're kind of coming close to the end of today's live stream? Again, on Thursday at 7. Thursday at 7, I will be going live again. So, and then there's also another video. It's going to be like a sit down talking video that I'll be posting at some point this week. So get for that. Yeah, what can I leave you guys with as one of my own personal collection of ghost stories for today? Because I talked about the Stanley Bear earlier. And you know what? Let's talk about the George Brown mansion, actually. Thanks, Mary. um, so the George Brown mansion is in Toronto as well, and I went to a seance twice at the George Brown mansion in September and October. And in no, sorry, no, not even October. It was November, September, and November. Um, in November, when I went to the seance at the George Brown mansion, I actually, so a little bit of context here. The first time I saw you was in Guelph Haunted Hill in Speedville. Yes, Ghost Hill. I love Ghost Hill. Such a fun little lore there. Definitely really haunted. I want to investigate it, but it's so close to house. And I never want to disturb the living. So, but it's a great location to check out during the day for sure. But so a little bit of context for me and like my experiences with the paranormal. I am mostly someone who can feel vibes, not just with ghosts, but with people too. But I feel a lot when it comes to the paranormal, and I also hear a lot, which is something I kind of discovered more in into my paranormal investigation career. Um, and I realized after investigating with a psychic medium, he let me know that the spirits apparently um, they know they like to listen to things, which is true. I'm a very auditory learner, so I like podcasts, music, all that kind of stuff. I'm a very auditory learner, so the spirits apparently knew that, which is crazy. And then they manifested a lot of my experiences at that investigation in hearing things. So I I was walking through these tunnels to a morgue. We were in a psych hospital, and I was going to the morgue, and we were all walking, and all of a sudden I stopped, and I was like, "There's like a woman singing. I can hear." Her." And the only other person who could hear it was the psychic medium, and he was like, "Oh yeah, she knows you like to listen to things, so she's singing for you." I was like, "That is so sweet," and she had a beautiful voice. But that's like a majority of my paranormal experiences is hearing things and feeling. But I've always wanted to see a ghost, and I've only ever seen like shadow figures or like things out of the corner of my eye. Um, I've been dying to see, no pun intended, an actual apparition, like a solid apparition. And in November at the George Brown House, I saw one for the very first time, and it was actually creepy. We were doing a seance, and I had like perfect view of the hallway. It was dark except for like a little bit of light coming from the hallway. And as we're doing the seance, there I see this person um with a cloak. It's like a green army colored cloak, and they have the hood on, and they're like scuttling like fast down the hallway, and I just see them like scuttle past the doorway, and I freak out, and I'm like, ah. And my aunt was sitting next to me, and she saw it too. She didn't see it in color, I don't think, but she saw it. And then she's sitting next to me. We're the only two people who see it from that angle. And then a few people down, they have a different angle of the door, and they saw something scuttle by too, not the color, but like shadow of it at the exact same time. So there's at least four different people who saw the exact same thing. And then as soon as the seance ended, I ran out the hallway because I'd kept my eyes on the doorway. I was like, I am locked. I'm not letting whatever walked over there get out without knowing that they're there. I walk into the hallway, nothing's there. I'm like, I literally, as soon as we were able to release our hands, I released, darted towards the doorway, nothing there. And I'm like, there was very clearly some sort of man with a cloak just pushing, like he was pushing himself forward with his hands. It was the most bizarre thing I've ever experienced, but very cool at the same time. So it was my very first apparition, and I was very happy to experience it, to be honest. And I'm hoping for more of that in the future, that's for sure. But yeah, so that is my haunting hour live for today, and it's been quite a night. So thank you, my ghosts and ghouls. Thank you for joining me on this very first stream of the Haunting Hour Live. Tonight we did travel across Canada, and we stepped into abandoned halls and listened to echo cries from nursery rooms and leaning into hearing whispers that may never fully be explained. These stories weren't just tales, they were glimpses into a world that exists just beyond the veil of our everyday lives. A world that is as beautiful as it is terrifying. And I hope these stories, the ones I told from all these people across Canada earlier, and also some of my own, have left you with goosebumps, a chill down your spine, or that feeling that maybe, just maybe, something unseen is watching over us indeed. Because that's the magic and the mystery of the paranormal. If you have a ghost story of your own or a haunting experience that you think others need to hear, I want to know about it. So drop it in the comments tonight, or send it to me on socials at Hauntingly Krista, or email me at the email in my description. You never know, your story might be the next one I get to read right here on this stream. And don't forget, we go live every single Monday and Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern. So if you want more chills, thrills, and real-life ghost encounters, make sure you hit subscribe, hit that notification bell, and join me next time for another dive into the shadows. Until then, stay curious, stay brave, and most importantly, stay haunted. Thank you all so much. Maybe the first, but not your last. Absolutely. Absolutely not. I will see you guys on Thursday. So excited to share more with you guys, and I'm so excited to hear what you got. So, and with that being said, I don't know if I'm still recording. I think I just lost connection for a very brief moment. I'm very, very sorry. I will figure that out hopefully for the next stream. Thank you guys for bearing with me. I think it was a pretty successful, but with that being said, my connection is unstable still. So, maybe it's a sign because now we're a minute over haunting hour. So with that, we'll leave you guys. Thank you so much. Make sure you subscribe, and I will see you on Thursday at 7 p.m. Bye, guys. Stay spooky.